everyone. Welcome to the Matt Painter Radio Show. It is our final Matt Painter Radio Show of the season. Can you believe it? And, man, do we have a lot to talk about over the next 55 minutes. It's our postseason edition of the Matt Painter Radio Show, if you will. Boilermakers now know where they will be slotted for the Big Ten tournament, which begins on Wednesday in Indianapolis. So we'll talk to Coach Painter about Purdue in the postseason when it comes to the Big Ten tournament. And, of course, as you know, this coming Sunday, the NCAA tournament selection bracket reveal will happen. So we'll maybe take a peek ahead, as well as maybe what we're thinking about the Boilermakers' opportunities in the NCAA tournament as well. So a lot to talk about there. Plus, we still have 3 games we haven't spoken about. We haven't talked to you in the last 2 weeks after taking last Monday off. So 3 games to talk about, all 3 of them going right down to the wire. Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Indiana. All 3 games go right down literally to the final seconds of the game. So we have that to talk about with the coach, too. If you'd like to visit with Coach Painter tonight, please feel free to do so. Here's what you need to do. Call us on the telephone at 1-888-246-2678, 1-888-246-2678. As always, we are at Wolfie's Grill, located on the Wabash Landing right here in West Lafayette. They have been our host all season long, and they have been excellent hosts for our radio program. We thank them so much. And, of course, a huge thank you to GEMCO, our title sponsor of the Matt Painter Radio Show, too. So, again, if you want to visit with the coach tonight, 1-888-246-2678. Matt Painter joins me next to talk Boilermaker basketball. Stay with us. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Roaming down the lane. Beautiful missile to Hunter.
Oh, what a pass from Sasha Stefanovic. He's coming off that handoff.
Stefanovic nearly caught an elbow from Edie there. And now Hunter tracks it down, under 10 to shoot. Jaden Ivey, Purdue star. Oh, boy.
Oh, he just left.
Robbie Hummel and Sasha Stefanovic tied for 7th all-time in this university's history. Hunter galloping down the lane.
Indiana's getting drives to the basket, and they don't have willing shooters from the perimeter right now. I mean, that's going to be an open Tamar Bates 3. Instead, you're driving right into that man right there.
Misses short.
Boy,
Gillis.
Mason Gillis is everywhere right now.
Ivy, a splashdown.
How many times have we seen him save a play?
Up ahead, Gillis. Couple of guys fell for the shot fake.
Boy, Mason Gillis beats every Indiana defender down. That's what it is. It's not going anywhere.
It is not. Edie against Jackson Davis. Got him buried, scoring.
You can't forget about him. I think in the first half, Purdue maybe did that just a little bit.
Got the rebound and right back into Geronimo. Edie might have taken it off the rim. Purdue gets it back. Gillis got it. Williams against Jackson Davis.
He's got the whole side. What a pass. Eric Hunter not ready to shoot, though.
Doesn't matter. Somehow he buried it.
Impacting this one here today.
Edie sizing up Durr, who arm bars him. Edie got him deep and missed again. His second one is there. It gets louder and louder and louder, and we have 5 and change to go. Stefanovic. Oh, my.
And Trace Jackson Davis able to get that to go.
Xavier Johnson has been an exceptional decision maker. It's Hunter.
Boy, Race Thompson has no idea.
Welcome, everyone, to the Matt Painter Radio Show, presented by GEMCO, live tonight at Wolfie's Grill, with the largest view of the game outside of Mackie Arena. Final show of the season, and again, Wolfie's Grill, thank you so much for all you've done for us this year on this Matt Painter Radio program, being our host. Pretty much standing room only tonight, by the way, at Wolfie's Grill. So all of you that made it out tonight, thank you. This is a great crowd, and it's so nice to have you with us. Coach Matt Painter is with us. Coach, well, Saturday, a 69-67 win over Indiana. What a way to end the regular season. I think already maybe 5, 6, 7 times as I walked around the restaurant earlier tonight, I was stopped and asked, is that the loudest you've ever heard Mackie Arena? I don't know if I've had a good answer for it. I know this. It was awfully loud in there, and, man, that home crowd made a difference for you Saturday.
Yeah, no question. Anytime you can have an environment like that. And, you know, it affects from a defensive standpoint, when you communicate and you talk ball screen defense, you're just, something will happen and a guy will just run straight into a screen, and you're just like yelling at that, big guy. You got to be able to call that out, and they tell you, yeah, I am calling that out. You just can't hear me, and you're 5 feet away from him. So that's normally a pretty good telltale. How loud it is when those guys can't, hear each other in ball screen defense.
I thought it was so fitting that it really was your 3 scholarship seniors that took you home Saturday. Sasha Stefanovic played so well down the stretch. Travion Williams hit a couple of big buckets for you, had a couple huge defensive rebounds, a steal. Eric Hunter Jr. got to the basket with a couple of layups late. I mean, I think in the last 4 minutes of the game, Coach, from a radio standpoint, I think the 3 seniors are the only names I mentioned because they literally were doing it all for you.
Yeah, they obviously stepped up, and, Sasha made some key free throws. Travion made those 2 free throws, the steals, the rebounds, a couple low post moves down there. And then Eric Hunter almost sealed the deal, made a nice move there at the end after he had just scored and made that pass to Sasha for his 3, in that last 5 minutes. And I thought Eric played extremely well. Sasha down the stretch, Travion down the stretch. But, yeah, when you have your seniors, they've been in a lot of games like that, it's obviously very beneficial.
Purdue wins that game 69-67. It was a game that came right down to the final few seconds before the outcome was decided. The same can be said for the 2 prior games at Michigan State and Wisconsin. Purdue losing on 3-point shots from the left wing, both with almost identical time left on the clock, 1.5 seconds, 1.4 seconds. So in the last 3 games, Coach, your team literally has taken the game right to the final seconds of the ball game. As you look back at those 3 games, as a coach, what do you say? Hey, if we would have done this a little bit better, we're not in that position.
Right, especially the Indiana game. We get up in the first half. We really have a good stretch in there. We don't have a good finish to the first half, and then we put ourselves in a position to push the game out again against Indiana, and we don't do it. And a couple of it was just kind of self-inflicted. The Wisconsin game, I thought we played great, down the stretch. I thought we did some really good things. Obviously, not through the course of the game. Michigan State game, we really didn't deserve to win. When you have 17 turnovers, and you're not going to put yourself in a position to win. Even though we did some things to get ourselves in position to win there at the end, of the game, you can't turn the ball over 17 times and expect to have a good outcome. So all a little bit different, games. Obviously, we switch against Michigan State late in the game, and he hits that. Tyson Walker hits that 3. They went really small, and so we were trying to stop the pick and pop, step in 3 there. The Wisconsin game, it's such a surreal feeling when you do what you're supposed to do and they bank in 2 shots. You're not you always have a point at the end of a game when it doesn't go your way where you're mad at yourself or you're mad at one of your guys. You're like, hey, man, just do what you're supposed to do. Our guys did what they were supposed to do. We made plays down the stretch. They bank in 2 shots. And, that's part of basketball. We've had games where things have went our way at the end of a game, and we benefited from it. So then there at the end, against Indiana, we did some good things. Obviously, we don't close it out with that layup that almost goes in, and the 2 free throws by Travion that he makes, then the 2 free throws that he misses. I thought Eric Hunter did a really good job of what Xavier Johnson was just trying to draw that foul around 40 feet. I didn't know what he was doing, but Eric was smart enough to pull his hands back and show his hands at that point. So he wouldn't get a cheap one right there as he was trying to get into his motion and draw the foul.
Purdue ends up winning 25 games in the regular season, finishing 25-6, and now it is off to the Big Ten tournament. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of the Matt Pater Show and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. And speaking of GEMCO Constructors, we're happy to have the co-owners of GEMCO, Bill and Jim Bates, are with us tonight. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all that you do and that GEMCO does here for the Matt Painter Radio Show. Back in a moment. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
How to handle things socially, how to handle things within your program. I worked for, 3 of the 4 people that coached me. And so traveling with those guys and hearing stories, and you think you know so much when you're 21 years old. And then as you get to be 31 and you get 10 years under your belt coaching, you realize you knew very little. And you still realize you know very little. Everything will humble you. The game will humble you. And so, but no, we had a great blueprint from Coach Katie and how to run a program. Anybody can have a good team, but can you consistently have a good team? Can you consistently try to do things the right way? Because not everybody's perfect. You're not going to have things happen perfectly, especially socially. You take 15 to 17, 19 to 22-year-olds in any fashion, anything that they do, like something's bound to happen here. Like it's just the way it rolls. So you got to do a lot of things to try to do from a prevention standpoint to help those guys, so they don't put themselves in there. And it all comes back to Coach Katie, and Coach Katie was actually great. Like, you'd mess up or you would do something, and he would obviously have some discipline, but he would always stand by you. And that's something that we try to do with our guys, but also hold them accountable. I think telling them the truth, they might not like. I don't think every one of our guys likes me, and that's all right. But that's not what you're there for. They've got a bunch of people out there that like them. They don't need one more. They need someone to hold them accountable and tell them the truth.
Beautiful night in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Purdue fans are here in big numbers getting ready for the season opener, and it's a conference game.
Welcome back, everyone. Matt Painter Radio Show, our final show of the season. Thank you if you've been with us for one of these shows or maybe all 14 of them this year. Thank you so much. Those that joined us maybe on Twitter Live or Facebook, maybe you checked us out on the Varsity Network app or just the old-fashioned way on the radio, no matter how you found us, maybe on YouTube. However it was, thanks again for making us a part of your basketball viewing this year, talking Boilermaker basketball. Let's go to the phones for the first time tonight. Again, the phone number is 1-888-246-2678, and we have Mike from Seattle joining us. Mike, welcome. You're on the show with Coach Painter.
Hi, Coach. Pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for all you've done for Purdue over the years. My question is, there's a famous play from your senior year where you had an open pass to a layup, and instead threw a blind over-your-head alley-oop pass to Glenn Robinson for a dunk. I'm curious, have your players ever seen this play? And more importantly, how do you think you'd react if one of them did that today?
Well, I think it'd be pretty cool if one of them threw a pass to Glenn Robinson. I think that'd be great. I think if we had him on our team, I'd be a much better coach. I don't know if they've seen it. I don't pull clips from my college career and show our players. Obviously, I wasn't that good of a player. So, yeah, when your career highlights a pass, you didn't have a very good career. So, but no, I don't know. It's I try to a couple of them, especially guys like Travion that can really see the floor. I try to get them to keep things simple. So me showing that pass when I'm not keeping things simple, but it was also an exhibition game too, so the pass really doesn't even count. But with that, no, I don't think I need to show any highlights from my college career to our players.
Well, you should pat yourself on the back. At least you were wise enough to throw it to Glenn Robinson.
Yeah, get it out of your hands, right?
That's right. Coach, let's talk about, I want to talk about the Big Ten tournament, but I would preface it by saying this. If you look at what happened in the Big Ten just this past weekend, we'll just use this weekend as an example. Nebraska, last in the league, goes to best in the league, Wisconsin, and wins at Wisconsin. We see last night, Iowa within, a three that rims out from the corner to having beaten Illinois at Illinois. Michigan on the road yesterday without Hunter Dickinson beats Ohio State in Columbus. All of these things lead me to believe that this Big Ten tournament this week is going to be wide open. As Coach Katie loved to say, expect the unexpected this week, because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, no question. It's going to be one of those things where you prepare. Like, we have three teams that we could play in our first game. And so, if you try to predict those things and try to get it figured out, okay, this is who we're going to play just because they have the higher seed, it doesn't work that way. Matter of fact, it seems like it rarely works that way. We always felt like when we were waiting, there was going to be an overtime game. It always seemed that way. And from a radio crew, like you guys are sitting there kind of fighting for your little minutes that you get before those games because the windows are tighter. And we had a lot of those overtime games. You see a lot of upsets. And so this week for us, even though we'll do some things that maybe one or two of those teams do in practice and not really talk about it. You really kind of, work on yourself a little bit. And you're also in March, so you're not sitting there practicing for 2 to 3 hours. You're trying to get in good 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes of stuff, and just kind of keep your guys fresh and ready to go.
Well, the fact of the matter is that, so Ohio State going to play Minnesota Penn State winner, but that game on Thursday night ends, if you're lucky, 11 p.m., probably closer to 11:15, 11:30. So then you have to quickly put in your game plan. Yes, I mean that's a pretty quick turnaround on time as far as game prep for a specific opponent.
Right. You just have your stuff ready. Obviously, Minnesota and Penn State play. You get your winner, then they go to the next one. So you have both of those ready. Obviously, what time of night it is, it doesn't matter because you're not going to do anything until the next morning. Mm-hmm. So you just have your prep, your clips, your scouting report. You have both of those ready at that time. Then obviously you go there. And obviously with Minnesota and Penn State and Ohio State, we played all three of those one time. So it wasn't like we had two visits and we go to Penn State, we go to Minnesota, and obviously Ohio State comes to our place. So during the year, so yeah, you just get your stuff ready. And it's more about you. Like when you get into the tournaments, like say you play in Maui. You just move on. Like sometimes you don't have your normal shoot around. You just move on. You watch tape. You talk your way through it. But it's the same for both teams. The one thing that they have is they have an advantage of playing. That's even though you would rather have the rest and have the double bye like we have, and they would love to switch positions. Once you get to one game, you would prefer to play the night before, just because you've been out there and you're familiar versus not playing. I think every coach would agree with that, but they wouldn't switch positions with you because if you can get through that game, now you have the advantage of only playing one night versus 2 nights or 3 nights.
Yeah, let me just say, reading social media, the folks at Rutgers, they aren't disappointed the fact that they ended up getting that 4th and final seed, so they have a double bye. More with Coach Painter in a moment. When we come back, we'll take some more phone calls at 1-888-246-2678. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Come on, man. When we out here, we got to compete. When we get into that regular season, it's going to be real. We got to win them games. Let's go. There you go. Family on me, family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Family. Working on techniques and fundamentals and how to play fast is great. We want to do that. Then you got to carry it over to the team session. And any session we have that has 11 guys at 11, it has to be a game rep for you. And you got to put pressure on yourself to perform at game speed as a game rep. Then you got to study it afterwards. Then you got to study with your coach, and you got to look at it yourself. That's how you get better. Not just coming out here and practice and forgetting about the play and the practice and moving on. No, you got to study with your coaches and study on your own to improve and get better. But you can be as good as you want to be if you want to put in the time and the effort.
Bush, slide to Colvin, bounce down. Population Raven, Colvin.
Huge block out of the middle by Colvin. Rousey, and that's blocked again. Raven Colvin is there with the block.
Really good out-of-system block from the freshman going up.
First Big Ten match for Raven Colvin, no problem.
Colvin sends it away. Raven Colvin.
Great read by the freshman, great vision.
There she is again, Raven Colvin.
And look at that awareness from Raven Colvin at the net to get the point for the Boilermakers.
Run that middle with some authority. Raven Colvin coming up big.
Raven Colvin, get out of the way.
Back here on the Matt Painter Radio Show, presented by GEMCO, live tonight at Wolfie's Grill, with the largest view of the game outside of Mackie Arena. Wolfie's Grill here on the Wabash Landing in West Lafayette. Time now for our Pro Boilers feature, where we look at how former Purdue student athletes are doing in their professional sports careers. Pro Boilers presented by Indiana Kitchen Premium Pork Products. get to know us at IndianaKitchen.com. Both our Pro Boilers and Indiana Kitchen are boiler made. And tonight we salute former Boilermaker Carson Edwards for a couple of reasons. Number one, he was awfully good in the month of March, was he not, back in 2019, helping lead Purdue to the Elite Eight. And he's also the leading scorer currently in the G League. I just looked up this stat earlier this afternoon. Just over 26 points a game, Carson Edwards playing for the Salt Lake City Stars, leading the G League in scoring and points per game. So congratulations to Carson, and let's hope that continues. Back to the phones we go. Obi in Lafayette joins us next. Obi, welcome. You're on with Coach Painter.
Hi, Coach Painter. I wanted to congratulate you on your win over the school down south, obviously, but I wanted to go back to, what was it, 2019, when we made our special Elite Eight run. But is there possibly any mindset that we could possibly be in that same position as what we were in 2019?
What do you mean by that position? The seed?
I just have a feeling we've got enough talent on the team that I feel like we could go all the way, but I wanted to see what your mindset heading into March was, knowing that anything could happen. That's potentially an Elite Eight or a first-round exit. I wanted to see what your mindset was.
Yeah, well, obviously you got to wait to see who you play. You don't know who you play yet. So, like, you get into the Big Ten tournament, like you know, right now we're just gauging, like, the possibility of the three teams that we just talked about, who we're getting ready to play there. So a lot of it is matchups. And sometimes, like, what you feel is a good matchup ends up you getting into a game is not a good matchup and vice versa. Like, nobody would have thought in our second-round game that we were going to have the defending national champs down 36 points. Like, nobody would have said, hey, this is a great matchup. We're going to smoke out Villanova here. When in reality, you know, there's no way you're going to do that. But obviously we did. Then when you get, you know, in that stretch, you know, even though Carson Edwards was a prolific shooter, maybe the best shooter in the country, you know, he still shot 34% during Big Ten play overall and 28% from three. So it wasn't like he had one of those seasons where, you know, he shot 48% from three and 55% overall. But in his last three games, he made 10, 9, and 8 threes. So, like, that's really hard to predict. People said, oh, man, you guys were just locked in. You're like, well, I think all of us are locked in when we have a teammate that hits 10 threes, you know, or 9 threes or 8 threes. Like, you got somebody carrying the water like that, but you can't predict something like that. Like, that's just entirely different when somebody gets into something like that and he's really carrying you from an offensive standpoint. You know, Ryan Klein was pretty special in that Tennessee game. So you take the combination of what I just said, like, you know, now you got other guys, and, you know, it took 99 points to beat Tennessee. A lot of people don't, you know, really remember that game. That's a lot of points in an NCAA tournament game scoring. Now, I know it's an overtime game, but, you know, I like our team. We have to be consistent, and at times we're not consistent. You know, we have to be that team. You're really going to be hard-pressed to get into the NCAA tournament and play 4 games and shoot well in 4 games. That's just probably not going to happen. Can we grind out a victory? Like when we win against Maryland, like, you don't want to be in that position. We didn't play that well, but we somehow found a way. I didn't think we played that great against Indiana, even though I thought Indiana's defense was really good. But still, we found a way. And then the other 2 previous games, we didn't find a way. You know, and so when you get into those close-type games, those are the games at that time on those neutral courts that you have to be able to win those games. So that's going to be important for us. I think that's more important. Like, when you talk about a mindset, you know, you have to be able to, you know, do your job, be consistent, you know, with that, and then you're really going to be able to help yourself with that consistency. But like we've seen, anything can happen, you know, in that tournament.
Back to the phones. Bill in Noblesville, you are next. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hi. Good evening, Coach.
Good evening, Bill.
You've forgotten more about basketball than I've ever known, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. When in the last, say, minute or so of a close game, when we're ahead and it's fairly obvious they're going to foul.
Yes.
I understand why you have Sasha throw the ball in,
Yes.
Since he makes wonderful decisions.
Correct.
I was wondering why Trevion was still in right at the very end.
Yes.
I know he made 2, but then he missed 2.
Right.
Is there? I guess my question really is, why don't we have Hunter try to throw the ball into Sasha, who's really good at free throws?
Okay, I'm going to explain it to you. Sasha's not very fast, and so he's probably not going to get open as well than him. Eric Hunter is okay at it. He's done it before. He's not great at it. Trevion is the absolute best at coming to get the basketball, and he's the best receiver. Now, the downside of that, he's not a good free throw shooter. But if you never get the basketball in at that point, I'm taking him out if he doesn't make those 2 free throws. So he made those 2 free throws, and so now I feel better about that, even though he's, shooting around 60% for the year. You want a better free throw shooter in at that time. They make their, that play, then we go. And he's trying to get it out of his hands to go right back to Sasha, and Sasha understands that, and they get to him before then. But our other guys struggle at getting to the basketball and cutting. I don't know if you watched this year. And so, I'd prefer Sasha to be out there and be the next guy. So we run some different things to get the ball out of his hands while he takes it out to try to manipulate the defense to get it back to him. Not all the time, but, you still want to secure the possession, and you still want to make them make that play then if you can't make your free throws. But the last thing you want to do, which you have seen, is us turning over right there. So you learn some hard lessons. We've had guys cut right to the basketball and get right on top of it, and that's how we had that turnover that got into that mess before. I'm drawing a blank which game, but so when you get into those situations, you learn about your team as you go on, and you do the best that you possibly can with the guys that you have in those situations. But I understand from your standpoint what you're looking at. If Sasha was a guy that could get open on his own, there's no doubt that's what we probably would do. But Ethan Morton's our next guy, so we bring him in. He will take it out some. You saw at the end of the game there, we allowed Trevion to take it out when it was at 3 seconds because he is a good passer, and he can see over people. He's ideal, but, we also take him out a lot of times. But going back to your question, we would have had him out if he'd have split those or missed that first one. But since he made them, I felt better about that. And I knew he would go and get the ball there at the end, which he did.
Bill, thank you for the phone call. This is the Matt Painter Radio Show, brought to you all season long by GEMCO Constructors. Supporting your Boilermakers is the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says Boiler up. More with the coach on the other side of this break. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
George Karloskis, Purdue.
At the top, he said, give me the go.
Yep. There you go.
Easy money.
There you go. Lock out. There you go. Right there. Right there. That's it. Good. Good.
Let's go, George. Easy money. Let's go, George. Keep that rhythm. Let's go. Yeah, George. Let's go. Yeah, George. Easy. Yeah, George. Let's go. Work. Work. Get him on your hole. Come on. One time, George. One time. I got you back. Let's go. Let's go.
David Bell, what a good kid.
Local kid.
They like him.
There we go.
They know him. Here's David Bell.
This kid can really track the ball down the field.
Have a passion for the game of basketball and have a passion for the person fighting next to you. Have a passion for your teammates. Have fun. Not everybody gets an opportunity to play college basketball. There's a time in our lives when this little girl picked up a basketball and fell in love with the game. Find that joy. There's so many things that happen in our world that are ugly that we need to put all that aside and understand we get a chance to play college basketball. Like, how cool is that? And that's it, right? Like, just having a joy, like to play the game for that little girl who fell in love with basketball a long, long time ago.
Back here at Wolfie's Grill, it's the Matt Painter Radio Show on this Monday night. Folks, you can rep your school in the Level Next Rocket League Spring Showcase. Compete to take home the championship and part of the $125,000 prize pool. Like this opportunity, food is too good to be wasted. With Hellman's, you can save more and waste less. Registration closes March 27th. Sign up at levelnextesports.com. Rob Blackman here with Coach Matt Painter. Earlier today, the AP Top 25 poll was released. Purdue is number 9 this week in the Top 25 poll, which means if you go preseason through the end of the regular season, Purdue was in the top 10 for the entire season this year. Quite an accomplishment for our Boilermakers. Also earlier today, Jaden Ivey named second team All-American by the Sporting News, the first of many postseason awards we assume he'll be receiving. By the way, had a couple of questions from the audience during the commercial break. The Big Ten All-Conference is announced tomorrow at noon. Tuesday at noon is when we'll find out who made all Big Ten teams. Back to the phones we go, and Matt in South Bend, welcome to the show. You're next with Coach Painter.
Coach Painter, I just want to say congratulations on your season. Hard fought throughout. What a fun team to watch. I tell you what, it's been a blessing. I got a question about defense and how you're going to ratchet up maybe a little bit more to get into the conference challenge and also into the tournament. Thank you.
Well, I think trying to get some consistency, I don't know if the words ratchet up is the kind of the right way, just trying to get everybody on the same page. I think we've made some strides here at the end of the year. I wouldn't say we've arrived or anything, but we were much better against Michigan State. We gave Michigan State 5, 6, 7 layups, transition layups, all because of our turnovers. But trying to, for them to score in the half court, I thought our half court defense, our staff did a better job from a Wisconsin standpoint. Like the first game, we had guys guarding him that we should have had Eric Hunter on him at that time. We were concerned about Johnny Davis's ability to post up. We flip-flopped our 4 and 5 against Wisconsin, so we had Mason guard their center, and then we had Zach and Travion guard Tyler Wall and really back up off of him and then just stay in the lane. And that knocked out a lot of Johnny Davis's post-ups, so it didn't let Eric's size come into play, so Eric then could use his quickness as he was on the perimeter more, and it seemed to really help us in that game. And that was a kind of a fault of mine at that time, because I just didn't feel like Johnny Davis, anytime he gets somebody that's smaller, he in our league, he's taking him into the post. Eli Brooks from Michigan guarded him, and he just got 6, 7, post-up baskets on him. But we just were going to live with Tyler Wall shooting perimeter shots, but it was taking away Johnny Davis's post-ups, and so that was going to be our trade. Now, if he sits there and makes a whole bunch of jump shots, you look like a fool. He obviously didn't, and so you look a lot better at that time. So we just have to kind of figure out who we're playing from a defensive standpoint and trying to match up. We've always picked the basketball up full court, and when we do things of that nature, we can't do that. We can't have that next guy go up there because he's not done that the whole year, and it's hard when you've told somebody to get back on defense on shots the whole year. Now you got to go pick up the basketball on a shot. It's hard to train somebody on the fly like that to be able to do it. So it's more of us being consistent, being on the same page than anything. We get into grooves where we're connected, and we do a much better job together. And then we have periods of time where it's not like what we're doing, it's just like being able to complete plays and do what we're supposed to, and we lose that. I don't know, from an attention span, a discipline, however you want to categorize that, that's been our issue. And so, like, if you ever get your own team, one of the things that you have to be able to do is, if you've chosen to do something a certain way and they do it and you're successful, obviously you're going to stick with it. But now if they do everything you say and you're not successful, now you know as a coach, hey, I got to do something different here. But if they don't do what they're asked to do, how do you know if that's successful or not? You don't know. You're just sitting in limbo. We've had that issue periodically through the years, and you want to grow in that area, and we've been much better in that area in the last 2 weeks, and so I think that's been a positive sign going into the tournament.
Yeah, to your point, last 5 games, Coach, you're allowing 67 points a game, turning the opponent over 10 times a game. Those are both marked improvements from where you were, say, a month ago.
No question. And that's what, like I said, I said it after the Northwestern game, I don't think we're going to get confused with the 85 Bears, but we're making a lot of improvements in that area, and that's what you got to keep doing. You just got to keep making improvement, and that's a good sign. Our offense has been really good, but our decision-making hasn't been great here the last 3-4 games. Like, we have to learn, especially when they overdo things with Jaden or they overdo things with our post guys, get the ball out of your hands, pass the basketball. If they're going to play you one-on-one and you're going to have space, be as aggressive as you can be. But when they put 2, 3, 4 people on the basketball, the ball's got to move. We got too good offensive players not, and when we don't do that, that's where we have turnovers or we take tough shots.
Yeah, that has to be frustrating, right? You have the #1 team in the country in offensive efficiency. So basically that says, to me as a fan, if you don't turn the ball over, you're probably going to get a quality look because you're the best offensive team in the entire nation. Just don't turn it over, and you're going to be in good shape.
And we have a very good offensive rebound percentage. So if you're getting good shots, anytime you have good shots, you should have good rebound balance. So now you're going to have a great percentage of the ball going in, but you're going to have a great percentage when it doesn't go in of getting it back.
Right.
And now when you take good shots and you miss them, whether you get it or you don't get it, now you can set your defense, and that's what you want to do. You want to keep people out of transition. You want to stop them from, because when you take bad shots, especially bad long shots, those can be turnovers too. You get those long rebounds at 15 to 18 feet. Now you can really advance that basketball.
This is the Matt Painter Show. It's presented by GEMCO. We'll be back in a moment. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Down the lane. Beautiful missile to Hunter.
Oh, what a pass from Sacha Stefanovic. He's coming off that handoff.
Stefanovic nearly caught an elbow from Edey there. And now Hunter tracks it down under 10 to shoot. Jaden Ivey, Purdue star. Oh, boy.
Oh, he just left.
Robbie Hummel and Sacha Stefanovic tied for 7th all-time in this university's history. Hunter galloping down the lane.
Indiana's getting drives to the basket, and they don't have willing shooters from the perimeter right now. I mean, that's going to be an open Tamar Bates 3. Instead, you're driving right into that man right there.
Misses short.
Boy,
Gillis.
Mason Gillis is everywhere right now.
Ivy, a splashdown.
How many times have we seen him save a play?
Up ahead, Gillis. Couple of guys fell for the shot fake.
Boy, Mason Gillis beats every Indiana defender down. That's what it is. It's not going anywhere.
It is not. Edey against Jackson Davis. Got him buried, scoring.
You can't forget about him. I think in the first half, Purdue maybe did that just a little bit.
Got the rebound and right back into Geronimo. Edey might have taken it off the rim. Purdue gets it back. Gillis got it. Williams against Jackson Davis.
He's got the whole side. What a pass. Eric Hunter not ready to shoot, though.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
Somehow he buried it.
Impacting this one here today.
Edey sizing up Durr, who armbars him. Edey got him deep and missed again. His second one is there. It gets louder and louder and louder, and we have 5 and change to go. Stefanovic. Oh, my.
And Trace Jackson Davis able to get that to go.
Xavier Johnson has been an exceptional decision maker. It's Hunter.
Well, Race Thompson has no idea.
Indiana with a win could really...
Radio show presented by GEMCO, live tonight at Wolfie's Grill with the largest view of the game outside of Mackie Arena. Again, a huge thank you to Wolfie's Grill, your entire staff, for how good you have been to us here with the Coach Painter Show all season long. Folks, if you've ever wondered how it is that the Purdue men's basketball office runs so flawlessly from an administrative standpoint, it's because our administrative assistant, Deb Hayworth. And Deb is here tonight and celebrating a birthday. Happy birthday, Deb. Yes, happy birthday. And by the way, fans, when you call and leave messages for Coach Painter about what he should do offensively or defensively differently, and Coach doesn't get that message, it's not Deb's fault, okay? It's not her fault. Let's go back to the phones. Austin is joining us from Fort Wayne. Austin, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Good evening. This question is more just a general coaching question, not necessarily about this year's team. So many of the players who you're typically going to be recruiting have been the main guy on most of the teams they've been on. And once they get to you at Purdue, that's not going to be the case. In the recruiting process, how do you as a coach project how players will fit into different roles since you haven't been able to see them play in those roles? Thank you.
Yeah, you just try to see what their strengths are, what translates. like guys that are really good rebounders, obviously rebound in college. Guys that are really good scorers don't always score in college. I know that doesn't make sense to you, but you'll see more people who average 30 in high school go average 4, 5, 6 points in college, because there's a lot more, like, I just call it high school points. You're getting high school points. But if guys can move and shoot, like the role that Ryan Smith, Ryan Klein, Dakota Mathias, Sasha Stefanovic, like that's an easy one to gauge for me, because like, can you pass the ball? Can you, are you going to have the ability to have a good assist turnover ratio? But what can you do like after that? Like, can you handle pressure? Can you get yourself in a position defensively to be able to guard? Because when you're a two guard, like offensively, the things that you're doing like isn't going to normally be the issue. The issue is, can you guard other two guards in that league? And then like, and we talk about like, do you have the capacity to be a good teammate? Do you have the capacity to play a role? What, like, everybody like glorifies the NBA, but 90% of the people in the NBA are role players. Like how you fit on the Boston Celtics really has to do with how you fit around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Maybe one other guy in there, but it's how you fit around those guys. They're the all-stars. They're the superstars. So when you get to college, sometimes you don't know who grows into that. You can, when you take Caleb Swanigan, he's probably going to be your guy at some point. When you take those guys. So Jaden Ivey and Zach are great because you love their ability. You love where they are. Jaden Ivey averaged 12 points as a senior in high school. Zach Edey averaged 4. So they're going to be great, but when are they going to be great? And so you got to project to your best ability. That's why I keep it open in when I speak on things. And I always say, here's how I see you at Purdue if you become one of our top 2 or 3 guys. Here's my vision for you. If you don't get yourself in that position, you're not going to be in that role. And so when they look at you crazy when you don't run anything, I always say, well, how many plays did you run in high school for your 6th best player? And they just kind of look at you like, what? Well, who's the best guy off your bench in high school? They'll say his name. Well, how many plays you run for him? We didn't. Well, that's how many you're going to get ran for you here. That's on any team. So you go and watch those guys that come off the Pacers and they play 48 minutes in a game, they get defined roles off a bench because of the length of the game, the shortness of the clock. There's more possessions, there's more things. The season is longer. Guys have injuries, guys take time off. And so now these guys get opportunities, but they'll get opportunities to play in a 2-week span, and then the next 2 weeks they don't get to play. Or their minutes are taken away from them, or things are never ran for them because of who they're on the court with. It depends in the NBA who you're on the court with. And in college it's different because it's shorter minutes, and so those guys get in that position so they understand that. But I like to be able to be forthright and be able to talk about those things. So when they get here, you've already discussed hey, you got to get yourself in that position, and then you can really take off. But there's a lot of things that go into it in terms of chemistry and making things work about somebody's makeup. I've taken a guy before and say, if he can't become our best player, I don't know if he can function. I just think he can become that. And then if he doesn't, now you have some issues. And you have it on every team. Every team in the country has the things that I'm talking about. Either it works for them, it kind of goes in and out, or it doesn't work for them.
Austin, thanks for the phone call. More with Coach Painter on the other side of this break. Live tonight at Wolfie's Grill. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
How to handle things socially, how to handle things within your program. I worked for, 3 of the 4 people that coached me. And so traveling with those guys and hearing stories, and you think you know so much when you're 21 years old. And then as you get to be 31 and you get 10 years under your belt coaching, you realize you knew very little. And you still realize you know very little. Everything will humble you. The game will humble you. And so, but no, we had a great blueprint from Coach Katie and how to run a program. Anybody can have a good team, but can you consistently have a good team? Can you consistently try to do things the right way? Because not everybody's perfect. You're not going to have things happen perfectly, especially socially. You take 15 to 17, 19 to 22-year-olds in any fashion, anything that they do, something's bound to happen here. It's just the way it rolls. So you got to do a lot of things to try to do from a prevention standpoint to help those guys, so they don't put themselves in there. And it all comes back to Coach Katie, and Coach Katie was actually great. Like, you'd mess up or you would do something, and he would obviously have some discipline, but he would always stand by you. And that's something that we try to do with our guys, but also hold them accountable. I think telling them the truth, they might not like. I don't think every one of our guys likes me, and that's all right. But that's not what you're there for. They've got a bunch of people out there that like them. They don't need one more. They need someone to hold them accountable and tell them the truth.
Beautiful night in West Lafayette, Indiana. Purdue fans are here in big numbers getting ready for the season opener, and it's a conference game.
Matt Painter radio show continuing tonight, talking Boilermaker basketball with the head coach of the Boilermakers, Matt Painter. I'm Rob Blackman. Coach, let's talk about this senior class while we have an opportunity to do so. Jared Wolburn, of course, joined us after starting his career at Cal Lutheran. But Travion Williams, Sasha Stefanovic, Eric Hunter Jr., They've had quite the careers. Big Ten championship, Elite Eight appearance in the NCAA tournament. They've won a lot of games.
Yeah, no question. Obviously, going to their third NCAA tournament for Sasha. Obviously, redshirt in his fourth NCAA tournament, and just the development. Seeing guys come in and grow, where they start, where they finish, the growth in between. I talked about it other night. Just the adversity. Being able to get guys when adversity hits, like, what do you do? Like, do you run from it? Do you blame people? Do you make excuses? And, like, these guys hung in there and kept fighting and kept battling. And obviously you mentioned it before, like, the telltales, all of them are getting their degree. And, we were ranked in the top 10 in the country. It's something they can talk about, the rest of their lives. How were you your last year? Us three seniors, Jared came on, as you mentioned, we were top 10 in the country the whole year. That's a heck of an accomplishment. And sometimes guys will get that kind of pinnacle. Our pinnacle was we were number one for 7 days, and so but those guys earned that. They worked towards that. They put in a lot of time, and they sacrificed a lot. And that's what you have to do on a team. You have to be able to sacrifice. Not everybody's going to get it exactly the way they want to. And it's the little things that you do, to help your team and those sacrifices. And those guys got better each year. They developed, and now they're in a prime position to make a great run.
Yeah, and think about this: they can tell their children, their grandchildren. I was a member of the team at Purdue that was the first ever team to be ranked #1 in the country. That is an awful, pretty cool accomplishment. Final segment of the Matt Painter Show. When we come back, this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
When we out here, we got to compete. When we get into that regular season, it's going to be real. We got to win them games. Let's go.
There you go.
Family on me, family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Family. Working on techniques and fundamentals and how to play fast is great. We want to do that. Then you got to carry it over to the team session. And any session we have that has 11 guys at 11, it has to be a game rep for you. And you got to put pressure on yourself to perform at game speed as a game rep. Then you got to study it afterwards. Then you got to study with your coach, and you got to look at it yourself. That's how you get better. Not just come out here and practice and forgetting about the play and the practice and moving on. No, you got to study with your coaches and study on your own to improve and get better. But you can be as good as you want to be if you want to put in the time and the effort.
Bush, slide to Colvin, bounce down. Population Raven, Colvin.
Huge block out of the middle by Colvin. Rousey, and that's blocked again. Raven Colvin is there with the block.
Really good out-of-system block from the freshman going up.
First Big Ten match for Raven Colvin, no problem.
Colvin sends it away. Raven Colvin.
Great read by the freshman. Great vision.
There she is again, Raven Colvin.
And look at that awareness from Raven Colvin at the net to get the point for the Boilermakers.
Run that middle with some authority. Raven Colvin coming up big.
Raven Colvin, get out of the way.
Final segment here of the Matt Painter Radio Show. You know, there are some folks that make it to our show each and every Monday night, and I'm talking about the folks that are part of your live in-studio audience here. Rain, snow, sleet, they're here each and every Monday night. And to you folks, I want to say a huge thank you to you, because it's nice to see the same faces each and every Monday night. One of those faces is Dave Huffman. Dave is over to my immediate left. I'm singling him out tonight because Dave spends his free time as an usher at Mackie Arena. Many may not know this, but this past Saturday, Dave was honored for his 50th year of service at Mackie Arena as an usher. Dave, congratulations, 50 years. Now that's some pretty good stuff right there. That is not our nugget for the night, however. Let me leave you with this, fans, on our final show of the season. Purdue ends the regular season ranked #1 in KenPom and adjusted offensive efficiency, #1 in the country. So what does that mean? Well, let's look at last year. Last year, the national champion Baylor was second in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. The runner-up Gonzaga was #1. We didn't have a tournament in 2020, but in 2019, the national champion Virginia, they were ranked second in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. In 2018, the national champion was Villanova. They were ranked #1 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. In 2017, the #1 team in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency was Gonzaga. They were runner-up in the national championship game. And in 2016, North Carolina, #1 in the country in offensive efficiency. They were runner-up that season for the national championship. So what does all of this mean? Well, I'll let you draw your own conclusion. But as of right now, Purdue's ranked #1 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. We'll see how it all shakes out, but I feel pretty good about a long run in the month of March for our Boilermakers. Some huge thank yous that go out tonight. First of all, the staff here at Wolfie's Grill, thank you so much. You guys were great for us all season long. Thanks to Wes Scott, our longtime audio engineer, the man behind the scenes. Thank you, Wes. Thanks to Ray Clapmeyer, who was our in-studio engineer all season long as well for most of these Matt Painter radio programs. And thanks to Hunter and Corey, who worked behind the scenes as far as getting us on the internet streams for those that watched on YouTube or on Twitter Live or that stuff. So thank you to all those folks. More importantly, thank you to the fans. You've made it a lot of fun, folks. Not only did we spend a week ranked #1 in the country, but we also won 25 games. There's a lot of teams in the country that would like to do that, and we'd like to win a few more. What do you say before it's all said and done? Purdue will play Friday night. We don't know who we're playing, but we know we're playing Friday night, 9 o'clock. Our pregame show on the radio network will begin at 8. We hope you will join us then for Big Ten Tournament quarterfinal action. I'm Rob Blackman. It's been a great year, folks, but it's not over yet. Thanks so much for being a part of this all season long. Have a great night, and boiler up, everyone.